Hello, welcome to edition 6 of Pinkun Classics. Today we are looking back on a rather memorable 5-1 at Portman Road, as Chris Gorham sort of said it, which was 9 years ago on Tuesday, April 2011. It was a Thursday night, weirdly, and myself, Dave Freezer, alongside Steve Downes, Ian Clarke and Chris Lakey, we're going to be looking back on that famous victory. Now, Downesy, I'm going to come to you first because you were in the best possible place to be following this game.
Yeah, I had a ringside seat. I was at a Chaz and Dave concert on the end of
Rabbit.
Yeah. And I was monitoring. I was with my mum because she's a Cockney, you see. It was a treat for her birthday, and I couldn't let her down. And I was monitoring the score on my mobile phone while I was listening to Rabbit and Mustn't Grumble and all that malarkey.
Nice.
Did you say you won't stop talking about 5-1? Why don't you give it a rest?
All that Rabbit.
Well, I guess when you booked the tickets, you thought Thursday night would be safe, but for some reason it was on a Thursday. I mean, Norwich were closing in on promotion at that point in the Championship under Paul Lambert, so it was a big win in those terms. I was working in the EDP office. I was on the late shift on news. I think there was a little bit of trouble afterwards that the police had to contain at the train station. So I remember it being a reasonably late night. Clarkey, where were you?
I was down at Carrow Road for the old beanbag. I couldn't get a ticket for Portaloo Road, so I was down there with about 29 million other people in one small lounge. So it was a bit hot, a bit sweaty, but a great night.
Absolutely. Now, I'll just tee up before I come to Chris, who was at the game, who was working. That for you guys watching, there is a link in the description on YouTube. If you want to click on that, open it in a separate tab, and then shortly we will count you in from 3, and we'll all press play at the same time so that we can watch those back. But firstly, Chris, what are your memories of that night? It was, of course, all going rather well for Mr. Lambert at that point, and thoughts of him becoming Ipswich manager could not have even been contemplated.
Well, look, I'm not often accused of doing much research, but I did do a little bit of research for this one. And this is on the back page of the EDP on the morning of the game. Paul Lambert said everybody has different ways of dealing with derby games, as long as you don't.
Did he mention Dortmund?
In it. So, you know, it sort of came back to bite him on the wobbly bit, that, didn't it? You know, yeah, he has a way of dealing with them. But no, he didn't mention. Funnily enough, he didn't mention Dortmund or Glasgow, Celtic and Rangers. I was surprised to read, though, that Paul Jewell was their manager. He'd sort of erased himself. He'd erased himself from my memory. But, yeah, it was a good night. It was a bit weird having it on a Thursday. And the one good thing about going to Ipswich in the more recent years was that you can always look for a guy who once had sat a few seats away from the press box, and whenever Ipswich scored against Norwich, he'd turn round and give us, me and the other chap from Norwich Press, a set of V's. He'd flash the V's at us. And he was a very well-to-do sort of middle-aged chap who looked really sort of normal, but he'd just lose his head. And of course, these occasions became more and more rare. And 5 times I looked for him during this game. Couldn't find him, funnily enough.
Well, this was the season, of course, that the unbeaten run began. So in November of this year, unless Ipswich managed to get a game against Norwich before then, it will be 10 years unbeaten, which stretches back to the 4-1 win over Ipswich in November at Carrow Road, in November 2010. But we're looking at this 5-1 win. Let's quickly just rattle through the team. John Ruddy was in goal, Russell Martin, Zach Whitbread, Elliot Ward and Mark Tierney the defence. Andrew Crofts, Andrew Sermon, Wes Houlihan and David Fox in that famous Lambert diamond in midfield, and Grant Holt and Simeon Jackson up top, with Declan Rudd and Rob Edwards on the bench, who's one who tends to get forgotten about. He was on loan from Blackpool, wasn't he?
I think he was, yeah.
Sounds right.
Henry Lansbury, Simon Lappin, Anthony McNamee, Sam Vokes and Danny Pacheco were the substitutes. Right, let's get into it, boys. Hover over the play button on YouTube. For you guys who are watching, I'm going to count you in from 3 so that you can still hear us talking while we're all watching at the same time. So 3, 2, 1 and play. And we start off
with Lambert and his
team
new
coach
job
arriving. So Portman Road, we've all been, I'm presuming. I think I've done 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5 times. Oh,
Yeah.
Always had trouble there.
Yeah.
Got punched, got chased, all sorts.
I nearly
Horrible.
got hit by a flying pint glass on the December 2003 one, top of the league at Portman Road and all that. I was in with the fans that day. That was a great memory.
Well, we lost the back door of one of our minibus one time, and we stopped in traffic, and some yobs pulled the back door off the minibus. We just managed to pull away before they got in the bus and had a go.
That was like quite making there.
Yeah, they just wanted some parts, I think.
Yeah, it's always a spicy one, isn't it?
I thought it was the wheels that fell off, mate, not the door.
I was there for the playoff game as well. That was, to be fair to the Ipswich fans, they made some real noise that day, although it was 1-1. And I've been behind enemy lines, as Chris knows. My first ever published piece for the Pinkun. I sat in the North Stand with my Ipswich supporting mate. So that was, looking back on it, it must have been...
Goal.
Yeah,
Tierney into Sermon.
Oh, and a nice assist from the ex-Norwich goalie.
Yeah, Aaron Lee Barrett.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that Andrew Sermon ever did with his right foot. Was score that goal.
That was good enough, though, Chris.
Yeah. We're talking about underrated players in the podcast recently, and Connor said that Sermon was his pick. But he was a cracking player, wasn't he?
Look at all those Norwich fans looking at the play. Oh, no, they're not. Tierney again.
Yeah, Tierney had a real good spell as well, didn't he?
It's quite a carbon copy.
Lovely.
It's good to get replaced.
Yeah.
Is that Aaron Lee Barrett in goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got an assist.
Yeah.
Also, which we're going to see in this game, there was a cracking goal for Ipswich, wasn't there? From Jimmy Billard.
Here we go. Oh, yes. Macaulay OG. That was his name eventually, wasn't it?
Yeah. He got
Cheers, Gareth.
Macaulay.
Yeah.
Nice corner from David Fox turned in.
David Fox and Simon Lappin on occasion putting corners in. They were wicked. Wicked
that's
corners.
A great corner.
And Foxy.
A real aerial threat when you've got Holt, Ward, Crofts.
But Holt was nowhere near that one. That was Simeon Jackson at the front, close to the front post, wasn't it? So, yeah, good variety.
There's no one on the roof yet.
There's too many bare chests, though, for my liking.
I was going to say that, yeah. I mean, it was like April.
Look at this.
Great strength.
Fantastic.
That's a battle. Is that Delaney there?
What a combination that.
Or was it Delaney?
Damien Delaney, number 5.
By Holt, though. The strength there and the cross and the finish. Superb goal, that.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, that was your sort of talismanic play that he was so popular for, wasn't it?
Oh, tremendous.
Look at little Wes with all his hair.
It's a great ball.
Ross Martin down into the channel. Look at
that. That is so strong, though.
Oh, man. Unstoppable.
There's only one winner there.
Yeah.
The horse, boom.
There was so much more to Holt than just scoring goals, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think
there
was.
He was a leader.
What would the odds have been to have beaten Ipswich 5-1 at Portman Road and Holt not to have scored?
Yeah. After scoring a hat-trick in the home game, of course.
This is an incredible goal, in fairness.
The trajectory of the ball is ridiculous.
The trouble was, when they played this season, he was the only Ipswich player who showed up. And he's still doing a good job on Sky Sports AM or whatever it's called.
On Soccer AM, yeah. He's quite funny on that. He's grown on me a little bit.
Funny.
He's gone a bit ponytail, though, hasn't he?
Well, yeah.
He's all right. We'll all be
out from behind him. It's a fantastic shot.
I remember one of those at the beanback was going, 3-1 was going, right, that's it. We're going to crumble now. That's it. Not going to come back.
Here we go. Look, Houlihan to Martin.
Ball.
Lovely.
Pushka.
What this says for me is so Norwich are 3-1 up in an away match.
Yeah.
And this is classic Lambert, because Russell Martin is overlapping fullback, making an 8-yard run to finish to make it 4-1. There's no sign of us just clinging on, was there?
And all those players bombing forward. You're absolutely right.
Look, I mean, they seriously licensed, didn't they?
Simeon Jackson was just a yard short of that.
Yeah.
But then you got the
goalkeeping again.
Yeah.
But they were determined that.
Now, speaking of strength, look at Vokes
here. Again.
Look at Vokes here.
Yeah, this is cracking. This is like a wrestling match.
Yeah. Pacheco.
This could be.
This is an unselfish pass to start with, and he gets the reward for it.
Yeah. Hello. Bang. Oh.
5-1 at Portman Road,
and
as Mr. Gorham said.
And Pacheco's just a cult hero, isn't he? You can't help but love him.
Just for that moment, yeah. I mean, he wasn't Wes, but he could have been if they could have kept hold of him, potentially. He could have been a long-term successor almost, but I
he
suppose
said that about Sergi Canos as well.
Well, quite.
Yeah.
I was never a
wrong
big
with him
fan
again
of
there. That is
Pacheco,
brilliant.
I've got to
That
be
is
honest.
brilliant strike work.
Well, Lakers, do you remember what it was like at this point in the stadium? Just disbelief, or are you just frantically
Well,
finding
I'm
your
still
copy?
looking for that bloody bloke. I wanted to give him more than that, Nah, it was when you're writing it on a Thursday night, it was a pain in the backside.
Demolition
God, do
derby.
you see all those spare seats in the blue seats? That's oh well, there you
Cheerio, boys.
Right on cue.
It was absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, it sort of watching it, I'm quite staggered. It still makes me go all quiet sometimes, and not many things do. It really was remarkable.
It was.
Norwich, not too long beforehand had been down in the dumps, and then Lambert comes in, and everything was on an upward trajectory. I think that took them to second, to the second automatic spot.
Yeah,
behind QPR, wasn't it? They won it.
Went above Cardiff,
despite a late attempt to stop that because they supposedly played an ineligible player, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and spent a load of money.
Yeah, but it was even to us who'd watched Norwich every week. You looked and thought, this is just ridiculous. You don't do this. Derby games are different. And it wasn't as if Ipswich were a really rubbish side. They had some half-decent players. Just that Bullard was probably just a street ahead of everybody else. But they weren't the worst team.
They were halfway then, weren't they?
They were 12th at the time, yeah.
I think Paul Jewell had said they needed a Devon lock to happen to get into the playoffs. So they were pretty much out of it. But
they were 12th for about a decade, weren't they?
Yeah, I think they start next season 12th in League One. I think one thing you pointed about Grant Holt, he scored a hat-trick in the game in November. This game, I had a real feeling that he deliberately thought, I really enjoyed that, but I want other people to have a go. There was almost that brash sort of, I'm going to tee it up. I'm going to help, and I'm going to watch them do it. It was a subliminal sort of arrogance almost about it. Because he didn't score, which was crazy. But
I've already got my hat trick.
Yeah, it was. It was like, let's really rub it in. And yeah, marvellous, absolutely marvellous performance. Nobody.
And to get 9-2 over those two games is extraordinary. I think it was the first time we doubled them since 2003-04. I think I read that.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah,
it was one of those little moments in time where everything came together for Norwich as a squad and a team, wasn't it? A bit like last year with Farker for the second half of the season. You just get those times where everybody's at the top of their game, and the fluidity in attack is just superb to watch. I mean, watching them just tearing Ipswich apart when they were already 3-1 and 4-1 up, but they were continuing to go and playing beautiful passes and backing each other up. I mean, that was a good time to be a Norwich fan. That really was.
And that ugly part as well, Holt's strength, Vokes' strength, just the way that, they didn't. You're right, the football was beautiful, but the whole part of the game was superb.
Lambert knew how to bring the trimmings in as well, didn't he? Getting Pacheco and Vokes in.
Yeah, Lansbury.
Just a little, and Henry Lansbury. Yeah, good footballer, that lad.
Very good.
He just knew how to bring people in at the right time. Stephen Elliott, he brought in as well, and you got the best out of them, and they did the job. And he was pretty much a master at that. Look at all those players in that side. There's not a weak link in there.
No. Jackson was absolutely on fire, wasn't he? Everything he touched turned to gold, as it did in the next game, which was...
His speed was ridiculous.
Yeah, he was. He was very quick.
The next game, the Derby home match.
It was the 3-2 against Derby.
We thought they couldn't get any more crazy, didn't we?
The place is going bananas, as Neil Adams said. But we'll have more on that. We'll have some of that in Saturday's paper, won't we, Chris? A look back on that game. Am I right in thinking Saturday? Yeah, unless I've got my days mixed up. But
no, you got it all right. It's there's a Gillingham game to think about tomorrow, and I think it's Thursday today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm really
Thursday
struggling.
today. It was Thursday against Ipswich.
Oh dear, what year is it?
Oh, really struggling with that.
There's no telling. Right,
But,
let's
yeah, that's all in good.
The one with Ollie Johnson. That Gillingham
Which one,
game.
Steve? Sorry, I missed that.
The Gillingham game, is that the Ollie Johnson game?
When they won the League One title.
Yeah, when the League
No, that was Southend. Forget it. No,
yeah, Southend was when he got the header that Ian Crook was absolutely raving about.
Yeah.
Best header he'd ever seen. And if anybody's going to rave about something, and Crookie does, then that's right. He's right.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're lucky with these kind of features at this time, at least, although things are far from ideal for as sports journalists at the moment, that it is April, May time when there's plenty of good stuff to reflect on. Let's call it there, chaps. Thank you very much for joining me for this edition of the Pinkun Classic. We'll be back with another one next week. As I say, we've got plenty to choose from, so we'll catch up with you very soon.